This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for November 26th, 12:30 p.m. Here's the tracking map from the front page of hurricanecity.com, and you can see there's no active storms in the basin, and the season ends on November 30th, so it looks like we're going to end up with Tomas as the last named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. We ended up with 19 named storms, a very, very active hurricane season, but no hurricane landfalls in the United States. And a lot of people were spared this year. However, the Caribbean took a pretty good beating, especially the Southwest Caribbean Sea. Generally, during active hurricane seasons, this region down here tends to get hit quite frequently, and I went over that on the Hurricane Season Kickoff show, which I did on June 1st. But the basin is pretty quiet right now. Let's get to the specifics on it. Here's the wind shear analysis from the University of Wisconsin. And the reason it's quiet right now, look at this, 30, 40, 50 knots a shear in the Caribbean down here, and this is the prime area late in the hurricane season for development. Even down here north of Panama, there's pretty good amount of wind shear down here. Now, some models are indicating we could see an area of low pressure develop near Panama and move generally west towards Nicaragua, which is fairly common for late season named storms. If they're going to develop, they're going to move into Central America. But look at, there's a big swath of dry air out here in the middle of the Atlantic basin that's cutting off any clouds from building up in the atmosphere and creating a named storm. So we feel pretty confident that we've seen the last named storm for this hurricane season, Tomas. Now, the June 1st hurricane season kickoff show, I made my city and island picks on areas that I feel are going to be high threat for being affected by a named storm during the course of the hurricane season. And my number one area that I felt was at high risk, well, actually it was Vero Beach and Fort Walton Beach. Fort Walton up in the panhandle of Florida, Vero Beach just north of West Palm Beach on the east coast of the peninsula. And Fort Lauderdale, of course, in Broward County was the area that I felt had the greatest potential for being impacted by a hurricane this year. And Fort Lauderdale did not get affected by a hurricane, but they were affected by Tropical Storm Bonnie. As you can see here in yellow, Bonnie came in as a very weak tropical storm into Fort Lauderdale. So the methodology of the picking the city and islands is based on climatology and number crunching, and it doesn't specify whether it's going to be a hurricane or a tropical storm, and this is why I don't specify that. But this year I went out of the way and predicted that Fort Lauderdale would have a hurricane this year, and as a result, I will be wearing the chicken suit. I made a bet that if Fort Lauderdale was not directly impacted by a hurricane in the 2010 hurricane season, I would wear my chicken suit, and that will be coming up on November 30th, 8 p.m. Tune in to hurricanecity.tv, the logo in the upper right-hand corner of the front page of hurricanecity.com. Click the live logo, and I'll be live for about 2 hours on Tuesday night, November 30th, as I go over what happened this hurricane season in my chicken suit, and it's very uncomfortable, so I'm going to pay the price for that, for predicting a hurricane to hit Fort Lauderdale. But as luck would have it, watch next year Fort Lauderdale get hit by a hurricane. But the other cities that were impacted this year, I picked Martinique as a moderate threat. Right here, they were affected by Hurricane Tomas. And Miami was affected by Tropical Storm Bonnie. That was also a moderate threat. Bimini, Bahamas, Tropical Storm Bonnie. And Barbados, the island of Barbados and the southern Windward Islands, was affected by Tropical Storm Tomas. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of my top 20 were affected this year, which keeps on par with my statistical breakdowns every year of at least 5 of my top areas that I feel out of the city database that are going to be affected usually do get affected, except I really messed up on the Fort Lauderdale pick for a hurricane. So check this out. This is on the predictions page, Jim's predictions for the week, and I'll leave this up, and you can see all past year's picks as well. All right, let's get back to our images here. And again, the chicken suit will be worn. I'm going to take a beating again for 2 hours. I'm going to have to wear that chicken suit, and we'll take your phone calls. We'll go over the hurricane season and what happened. What were the highest impact areas of this year's hurricane season? We'll go over all that. Take your phone calls on November 30th, 8 p.m. Tuesday night, November 30th. Tune in. And that's it for now. We'll be back with another update after the show on November 30th and kind of recap the hurricane season a little bit on this update. Thank you again for visiting HurricaneCity.com.